Hey guys, just calling it quits for the day. I wanted to give you guys an update of where I'm at with this. I worked on the sled by myself for a while today. Struggled at times. This is mostly a two-person job. To make it easier on yourself, I mean, I did it by myself, but it took me some extra time to get things to line up. First off, I want to talk about this tank. I bought this tank used, so it was already expanded. Trail Tank explains in their instructions that the tank is going to be small and it expands after you put fuel in it. So with this being already used, it's already expanded, and the mount holes up here up in the tunnel didn't match up. And after talking to some of the guys that run on the cross-country circuit that have done these, say to cut slots in your tunnel, just two grooves where the screws go, so the tank can actually slide forward and back, and you can have you have some wiggle room with your bolts lining up. I do recommend when you put these two back bolts in that you Loctite them. You don't want them falling out and then your tank sliding all over. With that being said, it was also difficult to get that front spring up over the loop because on these Axys chassis, everything is so tight, and it's probably the same on the old IQR bubble chassis, but it would have been really nice to have an extra set of hands. And also, I have the oil injection system on. I have the pump and all the lines run. Everything that I had from JS on this, the instructions, were very straight to the point. But I do have a complaint. JS sends you this oil injection kit, and there's not enough line to run from the oil pump to all the check valves on the motor and in the carbs. If that is enough, you guys have to have the specific length for each piece, like down within like a quarter of an inch, because there's such little line, and they don't tell you what length each piece should be, so that makes it difficult. So with that being said, for anybody that's going to do this, I recommend going to the auto parts store and picking up the identical line that they send you with the kit. And if you're going to put the pump on the sled, or put the pump on the motor while it's in the sled, put all the lines on the fuel pump, leave them long, give yourself like an extra foot for each one, or six inches to a foot, depending on which ones, but just leave them all long. Put the pump on the motor, and then route your lines where they need to go, figure out the length of them, then cut them, because that's going to save yourself a ton of headache. Me, unfortunately, I didn't have the right line here, so I had to run back to the parts store and get more. Kind of wasted a day, but once I did that, it was somewhat easier. But this job is a pain in the ass, I will say that. I would have pulled the motor to do it, but I'm kind of in a time crunch. I didn't want to deal with pulling the coolant lines off and dealing with the coolant and bleeding the system. Just trying to save myself some headache, but also I had a headache trying to run all the lines, because in this chassis it's really tight. To get your hands down in there in between the bulkhead and the motor, it's difficult. You gotta have flashlights because it's dark and all that stuff. But with that being said, you have to reroute your fuel line. I did, and I don't know if it's the correct way of doing it. I'll find out. I actually, let's see if I can show you guys. Let's see. In here, this piece right here is the fuel line, and instead of routing it under the carbs and up to the connection point, I ran it up and over, and it's actually routed down, and it's clear of the throttle cable and everything else in the choke line. There's no interferences. But it's hard to show you because I am doing this off my phone. So with that being said, this has been quite the task. I don't know if I would ever buy another IQR and trail converted. If you don't have a knowledge of in a background of working on sleds, it's going to make it even more difficult. But other than that, I mean, I've come a long way, and I kind of didn't do video when I have help with me, just because it's more difficult. But I got my suspension all revalved. I put the different rear torsion springs on the skid, the cross country ones. The center shock spring I changed, and I actually left the Snowcross front springs on there 200 pounds for now, because I haven't found a deal on a set yet, and I don't know what I want to run yet. I actually want to ride it first to see how it's going to perform with the XC valving with the stiffer springs. And with these sleds, these arms don't come with any welded brackets for a sway bar. So if you have the stiffer front end or the stiffer springs, it's going to help riding in the trail and not want it to high side in the corners. Other than that, I still am working on my oil injection tank. I didn't make my bracket yet, but it's pretty straightforward. I put the hood on, and you do have a little bit of room here with the tank, and I'll just run this line right up with the filter, and it should be pretty easy. Now, when it comes to priming your oil pump, you can just put the primary on, and when the sled's running, you should have some premix in this tank. Mix it 32-to-1, put about a gallon or 2 gallons in it, and start the sled up, let it idle, and you can get a screwdriver into the engine bay, and you can push on the oil pump to hold the oil pump wide open until you see the oil flowing through. And once you don't see any air bubbles in it, you should be all right. Then you can go ride it around, but still leave the premix in it, let it run out until you know you're good with the oil run through the lines. Let's see. If you guys have any questions on this, just put them in the comments below. I'm going to try to do some more videos on it. So if you like what you see, just subscribe. And I appreciate you guys taking time to watch the videos. And I hope that we can have some snow and I can test my clutching setup that I got from JS. And once I do that, I'll try to fine tune it where I want it. I think, yeah, my side panel's on the other side, but I put a was it a 2342 gearing in it. Leave the stock chain. It's a 76 pitch chain in it, and fill the chain case up with 11 ounces of oil, and you guys would be good to go. That's what I'm running. I'll give you guys more details after I run and test it and what I'm going to do to switch the clutching. And yeah, so anyways, that's what I got going on right now. I'm still working on the sled, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys.